Welcome, everyone, to the PFF Fantasy Podcast, IDP edition. I'm John Macri, and I am back again talking about the 2025 crop of rookies for fantasy football, this time covering the linebackers. We're diving into all the top names to know, what to make of their situations for 2025 and beyond, which ones are going to feed IDP families, and which ones are going to warm the benches. We're covering it all right now, so let's get it. All right, rookie linebackers, always a hot topic coming out of the NFL draft for us IDP lovers, and this year is no different. So I'm looking forward to getting into all these players. But first, speaking of hotness coming out of the NFL draft, we have got a wonderful guest today joining me, as always, for these rookie linebacker episodes, a man who was at the NFL draft in Green Bay with boots on the ground, partaking in the festivities, rubbing elbows with the NFL's elite, and now he's back on the show to bring us all the inside information that he learned about these prospects while at the draft. From footballguys.com, the legend that is Kyle Bellefeuil is back in the house. KB, how are you now?
I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great. Thanks for having me back. And yeah, boots on the ground at the draft. I survived. I had just a couple beers,
Yeah, sure.
No lies. Dropped my application off with McAfee and then the NFL Network with Coach Saban and whoever else. So we'll see if I get a call. But yeah, it was. Yeah. So I tried to create one. ESPN, NFL Network, whatever, But no, it was fun. A lot of fun, a lot of people, a lot of cool stuff, and just massive draft stage with tons of stuff going on. It was quite the experience, man. But made it back in one piece. That's the biggest thing.
That's the main thing, man. Yeah, it looked wild, just like watching it on TV kind of thing, and it just the absolute massive crowd of people.
Yeah.
You told me like over 200,000 people.
Yeah,
on that first
25,000
night.
Yeah.
That's insane, man.
Yeah, they cut it at that number. Yeah, capacity. Sent out a message in the NFL app saying we're at capacity, no more entrance.
Wow,
so,
that's
Wild.
a crowd, man. That is a big crowd. I think Jake Colhagen was at the draft too.
Yeah,
I saw like he kicked a field goal or something. He was doing like were there like activities and stuff that you could like take part in, I guess.
Yep. Yeah, there was all kinds of stuff going on. It doesn't surprise me, Jake. He's a stud. He'll succeed.
Yeah, sure. Natural athlete.
Natural athlete. Yeah. He's the 101. So
yeah, absolutely. Oh, that's cool, man. No, I'm glad you had fun. It looks like an awesome experience. I would love to go to the draft one day. Yeah, who knows? I mean, which one makes the most sense to go to? But we're always working on draft nights. It's a little bit harder to get out and do it, which is a pain in the ass. But hey, you never know. One day we'll see how it goes. But
absolutely.
Yeah, I'm excited, man. I coming out of the draft, going into the draft, it's always exciting to kind of like guess where players are going and stuff, and you figure out, kind of come up with ideal landing spots. And of course, that never happens. We never actually get our favorite landing spots for our favorite prospects. It's just, the NFL won't let us have too much fun. Right. But, we still got some good ones here. And that's what we're going to kind of talk about today. We're going to cover the first 10 linebackers drafted in 2025, talk about their landing spots and draft capital, what we expect of them, if they can be relevant for IDP or not, and then kind of rank them at the end. And hopefully that helps you guys that are listening or watching navigate your rookie drafts a little bit better, and even 2025 drafts if we should be valuing any of these guys. So before we get into it, I do want to let you know that if you love fantasy football, which of course you do, if you love winning your leagues, then you need to listen up, because right now you can get 25% off an annual PFF Plus subscription. You'll get full access to the 2025 NFL Draft Guide with detailed reports on hundreds of prospects, complete with scheme fits and player comps to help you prep for your drafts. And beyond the Draft Guide, PFF Plus includes advanced tools and insights trusted by all 32 teams, perfect for building and managing winning fantasy rosters. Head to subscribe.pff.com, use the code draft25 to get 25% off. Again, that's subscribe.pff.com, code draft25. You'll thank me after your championship run. All right, Kyle, let's do this, man. We'll start right at the top. The first linebacker drafted was arguably not even a linebacker. It was Jalon Walker going to the Atlanta Falcons. We talked about kind of the hybrid role pre-draft and what he could be. in the NFL, actually, I think one of us had Atlanta. I can't remember. It was Carolina and Atlanta. I can't remember which one was which. Were our two like talked about landing spots for Jalon Walker. So he ends up in Atlanta. What were your kind of thoughts on Walker? And is he a linebacker? Is he an edge? Is he both? What do you think about him?
Right. I think you had Atlanta. So
did I? Okay.
Props, man. Nailed it. Yeah. No, yeah. I think, like you said, we both kind of had our reservations with Walker. Like, where does he fit? Doesn't quite have prototypical edge size, inexperienced as off ball. So we're, trying, where does he fit for us IDP gamers? And we're still kind of not sure. I mean, we're going to have to wait and see how it works, I think. But yeah, I mean, I know we chatted a little bit yesterday. We were messaging back and forth, trying to, put the notes and stuff together. But I think we both were kind of thinking it feels like he's going to start off more as an edge or like a spy defender, because it kind of fits his strengths best right now because he is so inexperienced at off ball. So like, just let him be an athlete, let him just go off the edge, pin his ears back and go play in space, be a spy defender. He did that in college. So I feel like that's where he's going to start. I don't know how much off ball they want him to play unless he comes around quickly, which for sure, given the inexperience. And it's a hard transition to play off ball in the league. There's a lot of responsibilities, and you're expected to be in certain places. And if you're not there, bad things happen. Yeah, but the thing is that piques my interest is this possibility that he could become Caden Ellis's understudy, maybe. As a player that can play linebacker and rush. And I mean, how awesome was Caden Ellis as an IDP asset last year? So that definitely has me interested in that, to kind of wait and see what we hear, how they're using him, and do they give it the old, he's Ellis is taking him under his wing, and they're staying after practice, getting reps in, and all the good stuff, right? So I'm intrigued, I would say, with that possibility. I don't know that I expect a whole lot year one. I think you just kind of let him be an athlete and try to make plays for a defense that doesn't have much of a pass rush, and adding him and James Pierce gives them some juice there. But that's kind of where I'm at with them. Intrigued more down the road than I am right now. So.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty much in the exact same boat as you. Like, I have linebacker or Walker's linebacker ranks kind of up on the screen there for the YouTube crowd, and they aren't great when compared to like other linebacker prospects. Hell, they're kind of awful, but I think so much of his IDP value is going to like firstly be baked into basically the team's investment in him at 15th overall, right? And then how they kind of utilize him, right? So I'm with you. Like, I think he's better as an edge defender, at least to start his career. Like, odds are that, he's going to, I like how you said it, kind of serve as Caden Ellis's understudy a little bit, where he's going to play that hybrid role of off-ball linebacker and edge defender. But, Ellis did so more as an off-ball linebacker last year, even though he spent a lot of time on the edge relative to the position. He was still like a linebacker first, right? And I think it should be the other way around for Walker if they're looking to get him on the field more, and while also keeping him to be as impactful as possible, right? Like, I can definitely see Walker get utilized as kind of the team's LB2 over Divine Diablo and Troy Anderson, but then moving to the edge on those obvious passing downs, that's definitely like a potential play as well. Though that likely means that Ellis's role is going to have to shift a little bit as well, where he doesn't get maybe as many edge or pass rush snaps because they have Walker doing it, and they still need someone to kind of drop into coverage and play linebacker, right? Which is good for Ellis's tackle potential, but takes away a lot of that big play potential for him as well. So this is really just kind of reading like the tea leaves based on the type of prospect that Walker is and how he best fits, I think, right now, because like you said, he's still very raw for both positions, really. But I think playing, rushing the passer right now, it's a little bit easier of a path for him to make an impact. There's just too many warts in his game, I think, as an off-ball linebacker. Like, again, you could see the numbers up on the screen there, but as an edge defender, like, he owns like an 82nd percentile pass rush grade, 88th percentile pressure rate, 72nd percentile win rate. Like, it's a small sample size, but there's still less work to do to know as a pass rusher than running the middle of a defense, right? So I think I still have him like as a third round pick in IDP rookie drafts, purely because of the investment that the Falcons made in him. So his opportunities, I think, to deliver on his potential are going to be much greater than a lot of the other linebackers in this class. And I think that gives him a better chance for things to work out for IDP compared to other linebackers who their profiles maybe look this bad on paper before, right? So I guess optimistic for Jalon Walker is where I'm at.
Yeah, no, I'm right with you. And like you made the point as well about him getting that first round capital, top 15 pick, right? He's going to get extended opportunities, right? As he goes, right? If it's not looking great at first, they're going to keep at it because they are so, like you said, invested in him. So you always like that because you feel like if you do stash him, he's going to get enough chances that you're going to want to keep an eye on what's going on and maybe hold him on your taxi squad a little longer than a 5th round linebacker that's, not seeing the field or something, or edge rusher or whatever. But yeah, like it's a little. I'm more optimistic than I was before. I guess pre-draft because I just wasn't sure like where's he going to go, how are they going to use him, and yeah, it's not the worst landing spot for a team that needs a lot of help on defense in a couple of spots that he can contribute. But yeah. He'll be one to follow along to see what they're saying in the offseason program, where he's lining up, what they like, and yeah, I'm intrigued.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Again, first round capital is huge, right? Like even if it doesn't work out in Atlanta, like the guy's going to keep getting shots in the league as long as he's not a complete jabroni or something like that, like screwing things up for himself. But yeah, I mean, look at Kenneth Murray. Kenneth Murray's still getting contracts, still getting potential starting jobs, right? Just being a first round pick helps a lot. But I think an athlete like Jalon Walker is going to keep getting those shots as well. So, all right. So speaking of hybrid linebacker edge prospects, Jihaad Campbell joins the Philadelphia Eagles, where reports coming out of the draft are that he is going to be utilized more as an edge first before linebacker, which I know he was recruited in college as an edge defender, and Alabama only really moved him to off-ball linebacker because they needed help there. But he was also really good in that role and scored some much better marks as like a true linebacker than what we saw with Jalon Walker. So it makes a bit less sense for me that they would do this. But I think at the same time, you can argue that Philadelphia's bigger need right now is at edge. Like they lost Josh Sweat and Brandon Graham. They had Hassan Reddick the year before. They were headed into the season with Jalix Hunt, Nolan Smith, Josh Uche, Azeez Ojulari at the position. Oh, and Bryce Huff, who Vic Fangio hates. So no real standout talents there. Like, yes, we could be hopeful for like a Nolan Smith, but at the same time, like considering like Nolan Smith's size and lack of starting experience, I don't think that was someone that they necessarily wanted to keep leaning very heavily on for an entire season, especially as like a Super Bowl contending roster. So the other side of the coin here, I guess, is that Nakobe Dean, who got injured in the playoffs last year, isn't likely to be healthy to start the season. And Jeremiah Trotter was kind of the next best option, which, maybe they weren't overly comfortable with either. So I think even if the plan is to use Campbell as, a primary edge defender for his career, like there's enough of a need right now at linebacker that the start of this season could put him in that off-ball linebacker role often, which is, what we want for his IDP value. Otherwise, that hybrid role, we've seen it be productive, like looking at season's end numbers, but it also creates a lot of boom bust production when kind of breaking things down by week, right? It puts a lot of pressure on the player getting strong sack numbers, which as we know are super volatile. So yeah, I didn't love that news for Campbell. Like he's still LB1 for me. What were your thoughts on Campbell, I guess, landing with the Eagles and with this kind of news that they're going to move him around a little bit more?
Yeah, no, I at first when the pick got announced and stuff, same thing. I was excited. I thought the Nakobe Dean injury, right? Nakobe Dean's in the last year of his rookie contract. It's like, okay. And then I didn't love the news about the edge rusher first deal and everything that came out right away. But, I get it. He you watch his tape. He does have obvious pass rush ability. He's big, he's long, he's fast. He's got burst, and he can sure put the heat on off the edge. I just felt like his best asset was as a linebacker. He can do a lot of things. Because he's rangy, he's physical, he can drop in coverage, he can blitz him, and you, like you said, you can slip him on the edge even in certain packages and whatever. But I liked him best as a prospect, as a linebacker, and I'm still cautiously optimistic that he will stick there for the most part. I just don't think he's best suited as just an edge rusher, like as the majority of his reps, I guess. I thought he was a good pass rusher, don't get me wrong, but I didn't think he was, like Micah Parsons or something, off the edge, like that caliber of pass rusher. I know he did it in high school and he transitioned and he was recruited as one and stuff, but I still liked his game as an off ball. And, Nakobe Dean, that the patella injury is a tough injury. I mean, everybody recovers different. I get it, not every injury is the same, but that's a tough one to come back from. We still don't know if he's going to be ready for the beginning of the year. So that leaves an opening at linebacker. And like I said, he's in the last year of his rookie deal too. So who knows how that shakes out. And then I wrote it up in my recap article I did for the first round that, I was thinking about Zach Bond as a player when he came out of Wisconsin. He was an edge rusher and a guy that could play off ball. And he couldn't latch on and find a significant role in New Orleans and stuff. And then he comes to Philly with Vic Fangio, and Fangio, figures out how to get the most out of him, and it works. And it's like, well, here's this guy that's an off-ball linebacker that can rush and do the things Campbell can do, and Fangio knew how to use them, Not saying they are apples to apples, but it's a player that has a versatile skill set that they like both things. So, and you make a good point about what their edge rusher room looks like this year compared to last year. Looks a lot different. It's younger. There's some promise, but it's younger. It's less experienced. There's more question marks. So I do understand the fact they would want him to rush on the edge. But I'm still optimistic that he is more linebacker than edge rusher, but definitely going to have to follow everything we're hearing when the offseason program gets here and, follow the news and see where he's lining up and what position group and what his main's going to be, main group's going to be. But no, I still like Campbell. I still like him best as an off-ball. I think he's an excellent asset there as a guy who's an off-ball that you can blitz and that you can put it on the edge, from time to time, packages, pass rushing downs, whatever. But
yeah, no, I'm with you. I think, I obviously would definitely prefer him like as an off-ball linebacker, or just like want more of that, right? Like we'll see what happens, because you're right. Like Fangio, he likes to move his guys around. He's found some use out of versatile guys like a Zach Bond and Andrew Van Ginkel when he was with Miami, getting him to kind of, drop into coverage or rush the passer, whatever they needed at that time. Right. Like there's ways that these guys could be productive. So I'm still hopeful for Campbell, because like, much like Jalon Walker, like he's going to get opportunities and a lot of them. Like he should be on the field a ton regardless of the role he's playing. So that alone is going to lead to production. I still have him as LB1 in this rookie class, but that gap has at least kind of closed a bit because of this, expected usage in Philly. So we'll see how it shakes out. But I still like Jihaad Campbell quite a bit here. And then the next guy drafted was Carson Schwesinger, going to the Cleveland Browns, the first pick of the second round. Kyle, what did you think about Schwesinger's landing spot?
Yeah, I'm a big Schwesinger fan. Since he didn't end up going in that first round, I was eager to see when he was going to go. And we didn't have to wait. We didn't have to wait very long when the second round got here, because he went the first pick. Loved him before the draft. Him going 33rd overall. I mean, it's only 2 picks after Campbell went. The first pick, the second round's rock solid. The Cleveland spot, you look at it, it's some older guys like Jordan Hicks, Jerome Baker. I know we have question marks around JOK. We wish him the best, but I mean, is he going to, I hope he makes it back. I like the player. You wish the best for him as a person too. But we don't know if he's going to be able to make it back. And so, there's a lot of uncertainty as far as the long haul with that group, some older guys, and JOK is his injury deal there. So I think Schwesinger is a guy that can, hold down the middle of the defense, play all 3 downs, be a tackle monster for us. And I know Schwartz, he typically is more of a one linebacker guy, right? I mean, for the most part, I know JOK struggled to find like a snap share we really liked until last year. There's that, but I'm kind of optimistic that Schwesinger would be the guy that's on the field, to after Jordan Hicks is gone or whatever, if he's still the one holding it down. And if Cleveland is having a tough go this year, maybe they just work him in. So I like his dynasty outlook for sure.
Yeah. I'm definitely with you. Like, I love the long-term value here. Like, obviously the big thing is the investment, right? First pick of the second round is huge. It's ideal draft capital for the position and gives him great long-term potential. Now, I do say long-term potential, like that isn't to mean like his short-term value is shit, but as we know, year after year after year after year, NFL coaches are kind of hesitant to put rookie linebackers out there as starters, and even more hesitant to give them full-time roles. So there's not really a way that I'm going to project that to happen for Schwesinger in year one. I just don't think it's that likely. They have Jordan Hicks, who has plenty of experience as a starter, specifically in that Jim Schwartz defense, and barring injury, which is obviously possible with Hicks, I don't think he's giving that spot up. They also brought back Devin Bush, who played pretty well in that defense last year. And then they signed Jerome Baker, who has, he's been a longtime starter in the league, even though I don't think he's very good. NFL coaches seem to believe otherwise, right? So there isn't like this immediate path to snaps in year one. And I think even the most optimistic outlook would be like that he locks down the LB2 role in 2025 next to Hicks, but it isn't a full-time role in this defense. That just, think about how valuable past LB2s for the Browns have been for us in fantasy this past couple years. Not very, right? Like there's always a chance that Schwesinger can break that mold as a rookie and the team likes him enough to say he's the full-time starter or the green dot. But the other thing to keep in mind with him is that, he has just 19 college games under his belt, right? Like that's less than anyone else in this class. So coming back to, coaches valuing experience, that feels like a big knock for him, for me, in him getting an IDP relevant role as a rookie, at least. But all that being said, like I'm definitely a believer in him long-term and potentially as soon as year two. And he's LB2 for me in this class. He's right there with Jihaad Campbell. I just don't think I could get like too excited for his rookie year, but beyond that, absolutely.
Yeah. It's going to be he's going to take over in Cleveland, and if JOK makes it back, it's going to be the two of them, right? We're going to get two full-time guys. That's what we deserve.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the hope, man.
Yeah.
Oh God, I know. Cause Browns linebackers have, they've been frustrating for the most part, and JOK was looking good. And then obviously the injury really screwed things up for us. But, we'll go to the other. There was actually another second round linebacker drafted this year, which was Demetrius Knight Jr. going to the Cincinnati Bengals. So for Knight, like I was happy to see that he got picked in the second round. It was looking like he'd be like a third round pick pre-draft. And he's a player that I really liked. I had him and Schwesinger as like my 2A and 2B, kind of flip-flopping between the two depending on the day. So definitely an older prospect. He's 25 years old. We talked about that in our pre-draft episode as well. So that's slightly concerning that he didn't have more starting experience to his name. Although, a 2-year starter is perfectly acceptable for a college linebacker in general. And he scored some really nice career marks, specifically in coverage, which teams are always going to love. Now, the one downer to Knight's second round capital was that he was selected by the Bengals, who have two very clear-cut full-time starters in Logan Wilson and Jermaine Pratt. So the path for snaps as a rookie, assuming those two are there and healthy, is by far kind of the worst of all the, round 1 and 2 linebackers drafted this year. But that being said, Jermaine Pratt also requesting a trade this offseason. Like if the Bengals grant him that trade, they now have a capable next man up to fill those shoes, which they would vault, that would vault Knight into arguably the best path to snaps in his rookie year. And, we're recording this a week after the NFL draft. So Pratt is still on the team, obviously, and he may very well stay on the team all year. Who knows? But the addition of Knight and Barrett Carter in round 4 at least should make the team more likely to kind of grant his request than if they didn't add a linebacker in the draft. So what were your thoughts on the Dem Knight landing spot here?
Yeah, it's growing on me the more I'm buying into Jermaine Pratt is going to get his trade request, and we were talking on the pre-draft episode that we wanted Knight to go to a spot where he had a weak depth chart and a pretty clear path for snaps because he's a little bit of an older prospect and he's built like he's got an NFL ready build. He's a physical dude. He's got the tackling chops to hang in there. At first I'm like, okay, it's crowded, but then it's like, oh yeah, Jermaine Pratt wants out. Maybe this is it. They spent the 17th pick in the second round for this dude. if they feel the same way we do about him, that he is, an older prospect who's developed, ready to step in and play, then okay, Jermaine Pratt, you can go wherever it is you want to go. We got this guy for less money, and let's let it rip. So I'm getting more and more optimistic on Demetrius Knight the more I think about it.
Yeah, it feels like it, right? Like even with, even though it's a shit path to snaps as things stand right now, like draft capital, long-term potential to get on the field is very good. Because unless Pratt like changes his tune and signs like a massive contract a la Myles Garrett this offseason, then I don't think, he's bound to be a long-term option for the team. So that definitely gives Knight likely at least a few years in his rookie contract as a starter before he retires at the tender age of 69 and lives out the rest of his days on a houseboat somewhere. But before then, like, we should be able to squeeze some good IDP years out of him. So he's my LB3 still, but there is a little bit more of a gap right now than there was pre-draft, I guess. Okay, let's go to I guess this is our fifth and final linebacker selected on within the first 2 days of the draft here, and I guess that might be pushing it with 5 linebackers if you don't consider Jalon Walker or even Jihaad Campbell a linebacker. But Nicholas Martin goes to the San Francisco 49ers. Kyle, what did you think about this spot?
I know we had talked about this last year too, but it always seems like there's a surprise linebacker in the 3rd round.
Yeah.
Right. Last year was Maris Lufau. This year it happens to be Nick Martin. And I happen to really like Nick Martin. He was one of the guys on the first tape run that really caught my eye as a fun watch. He's an athlete, man. His athleticism, his burst, his speed pops on tape. He had a really super productive 2023 with 140 tackles, 16 tackles for loss, 8 sacks. So it was splash plays. It was run and chase tackles. Unfortunately, he suffered a knee injury this year and only got to play 5 games, so we didn't get to see him a ton this year. But yeah, like I liked his tape. The knock on him is he's smaller, right? He came in at 5'11", 221 pounds, but he tied for first on the bench reps at the combine with 26 with Teddye Buchanan, which is somebody we're going to talk about here. So you do like that he seems to be pretty strong even for a smaller linebacker. So gives you some hope there. But I like this landing spot, right? Because Dre Greenlaw's gone. Devondre Campbell quit on the team. They're certainly not going to bring him back. But there is a opportunity to take that spot next to Fred Warner. And he could really give D Winters a run for that spot. And the funny thing is too, is like you talk about Nick Martin and D Winters competing for this. Well, D Winters is a similar player too. Right, he measured in at 5'11", 227 last year. He's a speedy guy, smaller speedy guy. Because I just remember D Winters tearing up Michigan his last time he played them when he was at TCU. So like they're a similar style linebacker. It's not like you have this smaller speedy guy and a guy who's more of like, say, like a Demetrius Knight type, right? That's like a well put together physical, like a more physical linebacker. That's a banger. So they both kind of are similar. So it'll be kind of cool to hear how they're battling it out in campus. 2 guys that are like run and chase linebackers that are, kind of exciting athletes to watch that could rack up some tackles next to, one of the best in the league in Fred Warner. So, I like Martin. We got, we talked about I was talking about the surprise 3rd round pick, and that was a dude I liked. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was definitely a surprise because I can't remember where he was being mocked like heading into the draft. He was like outside the top 150 or something like that. So he saw a big jump, but I the 49ers specifically, like they were one of my favorite like potential destinations for a linebacker, specifically like a day 2 linebacker coming into this draft. So I can't complain much here. I was a bit surprised that it was Nicholas Martin. Like, not to say he can't be good, because the 49ers have drafted well at that position before. Obviously, like they're pretty damn good at it, to be honest. So maybe this was, me just hoping that it would be one of the players that I really liked or that we had covered pre-draft, right? Because Martin, he was outside the top 150 picks in this year's draft, and cuts that number in half by San Francisco taking him here at 75th. So it's only D Winters really that's ahead of him. So it makes sense that he gets a shot at starting at some point. I think D Winters starts before him. When you're looking at just at least somebody that has started in the NFL, even though it's like a super small sample size, right? I do think Winters is still the starter for 2025. But, we talked about, Schwesinger only has 19 games under his belt in college, which was the smallest amount in this class. Martin is the next closest with 25. So, again, he missed time because of injury, but he too needs to get more reps most likely. And barring injury, again, probably isn't like a day one starter, but like has been the case in every year prior, and this year included, with every single linebacker we're going to talk about from this point on in the episode, it isn't going to happen right away for a lot of these guys. They will, kind of have to be an outlier for that to happen. Odds are kind of against them for year one, especially. Like, things can definitely clear up as their careers progress. So they shouldn't be viewed as, wasted draft picks or anything like that. It's just more about being careful where you spend those draft picks and who else is kind of on the board, I guess. Like, I like Martin as a late third, early fourth, which is really being optimistic if we're being honest. But considering the 49ers history, again, of drafting linebackers like Patrick Willis, Navarro Bowman, Fred Warner, Dre Greenlaw, Azeez Al-Shaair, Chris Borland, Reuben Foster.
Yeah, Chris Borland for that little window was awesome.
Hell yeah, too. Man. Yeah. The 1 year Chris Borland was a beast. Reuben Foster was a dud, but that's only because he was an idiot.
Yeah.
Like all those guys were drafted within the first 2 days of the draft, I guess, except for Dre Greenlaw and Azeez Al-Shaair. So now Martin joins a pretty illustrious group of which, maybe he does turn into something. Like, who am I, to question them? So, for that reason, like, I'm drafting him when appropriate. He's my LB4-ish as a, kind of fringe round 3, round 4 picks. And if he doesn't work out, then, I could blame San Francisco for reaching, but I do like the spot here for sure. All right, let's go to day 3 now. And the first linebacker taken on day 3, round 4, 107th overall, was Jack Kiser of the Jacksonville Jaguars. So we get another kind of relatively old linebacker here, but one that I was actually like excited about pre-draft. Wrote him up as a pre-draft sleeper and ends up going early on day 3 to the Jacksonville Jaguars, which I don't think, is the end of the world, by the way. Like, I know they have Foye Oluokun and Devin Lloyd, even Chad Muma, but this is another new defensive coordinator coming in, Anthony Campanelli, formerly of your Green Bay Packers, Kyle. And Devin Lloyd and Chad Muma are entering the final year of their contracts, but now official with the team not exercising Lloyd's 5th-year option, which I didn't think they were going to do anyways. So now Kiser comes in, bringing with him some starting experience at Notre Dame from like this past season. Only a 1-year starter, though. Like, he was behind Maris Lufau and JD Bertrand the previous couple of years, which was my biggest kind of knock on him pre-draft. It was that he was stuck behind those guys. But anytime he's been on the field, like, he's been great. He earned a 91.9 career PFF grade, 90, which is 95th percentile, 92.0 run defense grade, that's 97th percentile, had an 86.5 career coverage grade, that's 81st percentile on nearly 2,000 snaps. So, and then also just a 4.8% career missed tackle rate, which is 99th percentile for the position. So he was projected as like a 5th round pick pre-draft and still scored in like the 85th percentile in my linebacker prospect model, which, with a full round of draft capital given to him in the actual draft, he moved up to the 92nd percentile in the prospect score. Not to say, that the model is, the be all end all, and I don't want it to come off that way, but it was, it gives us kind of a more accurate guide of kind of how to value linebackers for IDP. We talked about the success rates pre-draft, and people could go back and listen to that or read the free article if they want. So just using it kind of as a guide on which players to bet on and which to not, basically. So Kiser stands out as one to bet on for me, especially among like the day 3 guys. And when I can envision like a much clearer path to snaps beyond this season, when Lloyd and Muma are gone, I feel a lot better about him. But we didn't cover Kiser pre-draft, KB. I'm curious about what your thoughts were on him.
Yeah, a lot of the same. I like Kiser as well. He just looks like a solid, like he looks comfortable out there. He's a captain patch type linebacker, special teams experience. So you always like that for like a day 3 guy, because he's going to hang around and make the squad. Is always a good thing. You always assume a 4th rounder is going to make the squad. You never know, but I thought, like you said, sound tackler. He ran a 4.67 40 at his pro day. I thought that was a pretty solid number for him. And then, like you said, Jacksonville didn't pick up Devin Lloyd's 5th-year option. Not a huge surprise either. I think what the last linebacker to get theirs picked up was Devin White. Now everybody's scared shitless to do it, probably. And the Ofoye is getting older and expensive. You never know there, right, how this all works out. They could restructure him or Lloyd at any point. And Chad Muma is in the last year of his deal. I was a Chad Muma fan, but he certainly hasn't been exciting at all. Ventrell Miller's still there, whatever. But I mean, there are absolutely worse starts to throw out late in drafts than Kiser, because there is definitely a light to him finding a role with all things considered here. When you look, like you said, in a new defensive coordinator as well, I always like that when it's their guy too, right?
Yeah.
And Kiser just seems like one of those dudes who's going to come in, work hard, play special teams, be a good depth guy. And feels like a dude that when he gets his chance, he'll be fine. He just looks comfortable out there. He's got enough speed to match his smarts to be in the right spot. So.
Yeah, I'm with you. I like taking a shot on him. It's probably end of the 5th round kind of areas where I'm looking at him anyways, right? Like that's just, when it's day 3 linebackers, that's really kind of the best that we can give them for the most part. But yeah, I liked Kiser quite a bit. We also got another day 3 linebacker here, Kyle. Danny Stutsman goes to the New Orleans Saints. What did you think about Stutsman's new landing spot?
Yeah, on the pre-draft, so I know I probably came off as a pretty decent Stutsman fan just because I liked his game fit for IDP, because he's just a tackle guy who can make plays behind the line. Rough around the edges for sure, but it's a dude that if he figured it out, he's big, strong, fast. He's got a little bit of a nose for the ball. Definitely needs to clean up the coverage part of his game if he's ever going to be a 3-down guy. But anyway, slip to day 3, not completely surprised there at all. I actually don't mind the landing spot in New Orleans. Demario Davis can't play forever, right? I don't know. Maybe he will. He'll play till he's 70. I don't know. He's aging like the finest wine, whatever the hell that wine is. So it's like, how much longer is Demario Davis going to play? I know they paid Pete Werner and stuff, but he's just meh. It's tough to get excited about Pete Werner. I don't know if they have an out in his deal. I didn't dig into that at all, but to me, it just feels like there is a chance that if Stutsman, I don't expect much of this year, not sitting here saying he's going to, take the New Orleans linebacker room by storm or anything, but it just feels like, there is a decent path in year 2 where he could sneak his way on there. And I love the fact that he's going to be around a guy like Demario Davis and see how it's done. A guy that's been doing it for a long time and just continues to produce. Right. And I think it would be good for Stutsman to not be thrown into the fire, because he does need to clean some things up as far as if he's going to develop into a 3-down linebacker. I mean, if you just want him to go, he's best when he's just head down, going and reacting. Right? He doesn't have to think a whole lot. He can just make plays, be big and strong and fast. I kind of don't mind the landing spot in New Orleans. How about you?
Yeah, it's weird, right? Because the Saints have been such a weird landing spot, kind of like a dead zone for both rookies and free agent signings over the past year, just because, like you said, Demario Davis refuses to retire.
I know.
Pete Werner has kind of been this, solid, albeit unextraordinary. Unextraordinary. I guess that's kind of a word. LB2 that has fit their scheme, and they gave him the contract extension last offseason, I believe. So, guys like Willie Gay or Kaliki Hudson, if you were into that optimism, or DeMarco Jackson, even if you liked him at all coming
Anthony
out of
Orji, I think.
Anthony Orji, but even Zach Bond, for the longest time, there hasn't been anyone able to kind of overcome the combination of Demario Davis and Pete Werner for fantasy relevance. I don't know that Stutsman necessarily stands out as the guy who's capable of doing that, but he's very much that like you said, early down kind of thumper who isn't likely going to provide much on passing downs yet. And the Saints have at least been using their linebackers in more situational deployments as well. So maybe he does get an opportunity there. I don't view him as a future 3-down linebacker, which kind of hurts his IDP value, but who knows? It's not impossible, right? Because he is at least very good in that early down role. So maybe that earns him more playing time altogether. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, we need to clear a path here because Demario Davis, the man's sticking around. Best is welcome at this point, especially for a team like the Saints, who are, I mean, they're going to be not good this year, I imagine, especially if Derek Carr is injured. So, yeah, we'll see, man. We'll see.
Yeah, could be a tough go.
Yeah. All right. So next guy up on the list was Cody Simon, who goes to the Arizona Cardinals, 115th overall, it looked like. So Simon's been kind of a player that I feel like I'm becoming more and more interested in, especially coming out of the draft. Like I think I had him as LB8 pre-draft. He's moved up to LB6 for me. Part of that has to do with better draft capital than anticipated, but also like the landing spot at least has me optimistic. The Cardinals' projected lead linebacker is Akeem Davis-Gaither, who I like, but at the same time, like this will be the first time that he's a starter heading into the year. The other starting spot belongs to Mac Wilson, who they used in this kind of hybrid edge off-ball part-time role, which we talked about with Jalon Walker. That was Mac Wilson last year. So they could potentially use him, Mac Wilson, that is in that role, just on a lesser snap share, because it's not like he was overly effective doing so. Like he had like 3 sacks on the year. He should have had at least 5 considering how often he was rushing the passer. I mean, Ivan Pace and Jordan Brooks each had 3 sacks, and they did it on less than half the attempts that Mac Wilson did. So Mac Wilson just isn't starting quality. So you bring in someone like Cody Simon, like they have a chance here to utilize a more traditional off-ball linebacker next to Akeem Davis-Gaither. Again, I don't expect it to happen immediately, but if they were to switch up their philosophies a little bit on defense, specifically around Mac Wilson and how much he should contribute, then, maybe Simon could be like a big time beneficiary of that, because there's nobody else in Arizona who really stands out. I'm sorry, Owen Papo, Hive, and the 4 of you that are still holding out hope for that to happen. But I think Cody Simon, we could maybe, move some of that hope towards Cody Simon as the new Owen Papo, and hope that Mac Wilson slides out of the way and we can get this guy on the field in a more traditional linebacker role, which is better for IDP. So what were your thoughts on Simon?
Yeah, a lot of the same thoughts, for sure. I'd like the landing spot, and I'm hoping for the same thing, like enough Mac Wilson in that role. Give us 2 more traditional linebacker roles. Akeem Davis-Gaither, like you said, looks like the guy. And certainly not scared of Owen Papo when we're looking at Cody Simon here in the 2. But yeah, I think he is a sound enough tackler to make some noise if he gets his opportunity and gets some chances, right? And certainly another guy that I'm going to look at late in drafts, because there is a decent path to an opportunity there, especially, if they kind of phase out that Mac Wilson role, because, Cody Simon is probably a better run defender than Mac Wilson and Owen Papo put together, I'm optimistic about this one too. This Arizona was a spot I was keeping an eye on to see if they spent up on the position, being a guy who picked up a lot of Akeem Davis-Gaither off the wire in bidding wars and in free agency at some leagues. So,
Yeah. Simon could be fun. Another one of those, again, like 5th round pick types, depending on what your league type is. But around the 5th round is where I'm kind of looking at Cody Simon, if depending on what else is on the board. But another 4th round linebacker, Kyle. I know you're a big fan of Clemson linebackers as much as everybody is. Barrett Carter goes to the Cincinnati Bengals. What did you think about this one?
Yeah, you know me. You know where I stand on it. You were a little more optimistic than me, but it was probably those Clemson linebacker blinders bias that I have. In this landing spot doesn't help my cause or his cause. In my eyes, I guess. I was pretty surprised to see the Bengals go draft another linebacker in round 4 after grabbing Knight in round 2. Like we were talking, the more we thought about it, Pratt likely feel like he's got to go now, and because we need that, we need he can go somewhere where he can get a role and be productive for us, and then Knight can step up and we can get him in our rookie drafts, and everybody will be happy. But Barrett Carter, I don't know where he fits. Wasn't a guy. Like I said, he's got the Clemson stink on him until proven otherwise. I mean, things do change fast in this game, right? They have Logan Wilson there. Knight obviously would have the upper hand on Carter. Pratt, wait and see, likely gone, but things change fast, so I guess you never know, right?
Yeah. It's just funny that your Green Bay Packers now have the poster boy for disappointing Clemson linebackers signing Isaiah Simmons this week. We'll see how he fits.
He's going to be awesome on special teams.
Yeah, that's what it's going to do. But yeah, I mean, like as far as, Clemson linebackers ever not disappointing us, I don't think that trend necessarily comes to an end here with Barrett Carter, like especially considering like he was being mocked as a late day 2 pick and as a potential top 5 linebacker, drafted in this class. Like that obviously didn't happen here, but it's not like, he fell so far beyond day 2 as well. He still went early day 3. The problem is that he went to a Bengals team that also happened to draft a linebacker a couple rounds earlier in Demetrius Knight. Now, same kind of caveats, I guess, that we had for Knight apply to Carter, that if Jermaine Pratt does in fact get traded, then Carter gets to move up a spot on the depth chart. Now, at best, that probably puts him as LB3, so not an overly desirable spot to be in for IDP. But, injuries happen all the time, and basically being the next man up in that defense, again, assuming Pratt is gone, can carry some value late in rookie drafts. Probably now we're talking, 6th, 7th round type thing, most likely, I think. But we saw Akeem Davis-Gaither, have some nice fantasy value down the stretch last season, and he eventually got a starting job elsewhere. I'm not overly hopeful, I guess, for Carter, because I think that ceiling is a little bit more limited. But 6th, 7th round pick is fine to take a shot. That's about where I have him right now. All right, our other 4th round linebacker, this is linebacker number 10 that we'll talk about now, and that is Teddye Buchanan, who goes to the Baltimore Ravens. And so Buchanan, really interesting, because he kind of becomes like sneaky interesting to me among like these day 3 guys, because Malik Harrison is gone, and so is Chris Board, which might not sound like any real reason to get excited. But remember last year that both Harrison and Board were playing well ahead of Trenton Simpson every week from like week 12 and into the playoffs. They buried Simpson on that depth chart. We could talk about Clemson linebackers disappointing us, and Simpson is right up there with Isaiah Simmons right now, because people loved this dude last offseason to the point where I kept getting questioned about ranking him too low. Him and Patrick Queen, ironically, were like the guys that people love to glaze and last offseason and tell me that I was wrong about. But yeah, imagine that. I ended up being right on those ones. But anyways, the Ravens coaching staff, like, they still seem to hate Trenton Simpson, clearly. Now, it is a new year, fresh start to the offseason. I'm not saying that Buchanan is going to start ahead of Simpson, or the team will continue to bury Simpson or anything like that. But this does at least catch my eye as like a relevant move, and one where there isn't an impossible path to snaps for Buchanan, even as a 4th round pick, right? Like, really nice career grades as well, including a 98th percentile career coverage grade, really athletic. I think he had like a 9.62 relative athletic score, just a 6.8% career missed tackle rate. That was 94th percentile. Now, the other thing with him too is only one of his 5 college seasons was spent outside of the FCS, which was, this past year at Cal. But you can make the argument that 2024 was his best season. And, for just 22 years old, like, he could grow into a player here for the Ravens. So I'm relatively interested. How are you feeling about Teddye Buchanan?
Yeah, I'm interested too. He like you said, the RAS score was 9.6. Athletic guy, around a 4.6 40. He's well built, well put together athletically. Looks like an athlete, man, and he looks like a physical athlete out there too, which you always like. He's not just speed. So encouraging stuff there. I thought he was a sound tackler, an effective blitzer, was crafty, getting there too. It wasn't just put his head down and run in a straight line. He kind of slipped and bobbed and weaved to get there through traffic to get pressure. Like you said, UC Davis, 4 years there, and then he transfers to Cal, hits the portal, and has a really solid season. 114 tackles, 12 tackles for loss, 5 sacks. So a really nice year. And the thing is too, is he was a captain at both schools. So you love that, right? The team will rally around him. He's a leader type, captain patch guy. Shout out Addy, right? Addy's big on the captain patch. So I like Teddye Buchanan continues to grow on me. I have like this tier of linebackers, right? We're talking these day 3 guys. They're so close to me. And I could shift them at any point, and like we're talking about, like Buchanan, like there is a legit path, right? Simpson got completely phased out. It looks like an afterthought. Lee Harrison's gone. Those, like you brought up, excellent points. Totally agree with you there. Even Chris Board, like you said, not an exciting name, but they're in the way, right? Yeah. And like we were talking about these guys like Buchanan, Simon, Stutsman. We're optimistic about the landing spot. It's more like year 2 to me for like Stutsman, Simon. Those guys, because like we said last year, if Junior Colson as a third round linebacker doesn't get the starting job, I don't think it's ever going to happen. I don't think I'll ever trust it again. Anything in third or later. So I'm definitely not like that with any of these guys we're discussing. But like as long as I can see a decently clear path to an opportunity, I love drafting these linebackers late and just stashing them and seeing what happens. Buchanan definitely has a path, right? So I like him. I like the player too. I was watching his tape yesterday, and it was that I was impressed. I liked it. And size, athletic, sound tackler. He looks like a dude that could make some noise.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. This was definitely one of the more, like, I guess, optimistic paths that Buchanan could have took. Like he was, I think, even projected to go later than this. It's a pretty decent landing spot. Like again, Trenton Simpson. I don't know, man. It didn't seem like the team was overly confident in him. They buried him on that depth chart. Yeah. So I don't know. There's a path here. I kind of like Buchanan. I'd take a 5th round dart on him for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, we've covered 10 linebackers as promised here, but for those of you who don't consider Jalon Walker a linebacker, thinks you're being cheated out of one here, we have at least one bonus name. Kyle, maybe it's up to you if you want to add anybody else, but a player that we did cover pre-draft, we were both optimistic about his potential as well, and now arguably gets the best landing spot for a linebacker. It's Chris Paul Jr. going to the Los Angeles Rams in the 4th round. What did you think about this one?
Yeah, right. We've been waiting for somebody to go to the Rams early. I know I had Schwesinger, I believe, going there because I wanted it to happen in the pre-draft episode. But we're always looking on who's going to go to the Rams. Are they finally going to take somebody? And they waited until the 5th round. But I like the player. We were both, like you said, we were both optimistic about Chris Paul. So I like this landing spot. I like the player. He slipped to the 5th round, but as is tradition, the Rams need linebacker help, and we were waiting to see who it was going to be. I like him more than Omar Spates. Troy Reeder and Nate Landman aren't overly intimidating, but then again, a guy like Nate Landman is the veteran they brought in, and I'm gonna side with the veteran in those situations. But there is a reasonable chance that Paul gets in the mix with that group because he is. I just thought, I think he could be the better player of them all as far as all-around game, 3-down linebacker. I feel like he's got a little more to offer, and it's not like the toughest room by any means for him to get in the mix. So.
Yeah, like I think, you look at this Rams linebacker room, and I think Troy Reeder is definitely a winner coming out of this year's draft because like the team didn't spend a day 1 or day 2 pick on a linebacker. So that one starting role should belong to him. He has the experience in this defense. He's been started for them, many times, right? And even in the playoffs at some point. So it's where the rest of the Rams linebackers are just not as exciting, right? Because the top 3 of them heading into this season or heading into the draft, Troy Reeder, Nate Landman, Omar Spates, they're all former UDFAs, and none of them necessarily have an encouraging body of work in the NFL right now. Like I think there are Omar Spates believers out there. I'm not really one of them. I don't think he's anything special. I think Paul at least has a chance to be the best linebacker on this team. Like hell, even like a undrafted free agent Sean Dolak could be interesting, and there's guys that I think are better options for them. And my kind of out there theory or possibility is that maybe the Rams did draft a linebacker early in the draft, spending the 39th overall pick on Josiah Stewart out of Michigan, who I'm sure you're familiar with, Kyle, right? But he's an edge rusher and he's really good. However, he's also super small for the position, right? Like 2nd percentile in height, 13th percentile in weight. So
He's like what the same size as Chris Paul.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Like, what if there are plans to use Stewart in more of an off-ball role at the next level, especially considering how much better off they are at edge with Jared Verse and Byron Young as the starters. I know he didn't play much linebacker in college, Kyle, but do you think he has that potential in him at all from watching him this year, or am I an idiot on that one?
No, dude, this hasn't crossed my mind, but I like this. Yeah. No, I like this theory. I'm going to be investigating that, man. I think you're onto something there. No, Stewart, he is super undersized. He's super athletic, bursty. He's a havoc creator. And yeah, I like that. Right. That's, you're onto something there, man. Let's talk that into existence. If that happens, man, I'll drive right to Canada and we're getting hammered.
Nice. I love it. Yeah.
So it's got to happen.
Buy some Josiah Stewart jerseys, one Michigan, one Rams.
Yes.
Oh man. Yeah. Look, it's possible. I don't know. It's something I was thinking about, looking at kind of how they spent their draft capital, but I do like Chris Paul Jr. I like the potential for him to kind of overcome a few of these spots on the depth chart here, but let's get into the rankings, Kyle, because people I'm sure want to know kind of exactly where these guys stack up for us. So why don't you run through your 10 to 1, I guess, or 1 to 10, however you want to do it, and then I'll add mine in there, or 11. I guess we covered Chris Paul.
I was just curious, are we leaving Paul on the?
Yeah, we could throw him in there.
Okay. Sure. Yeah. 11 to 1.
Sure.
Is that what we're doing? Okay. My 11 is Barrett Carter. I'm sure.
Yeah. Yep, I get it.
You want me to just keep going?
Sure.
So 10, I have Teddye Buchanan. He is. I'm probably going to tinker his name up and down this list because I have these guys in like a tier. But 10 would be Teddye Buchanan for me. 9 would be Jack Kiser. 8 would be Cody Simon. 7 is Chris Paul. I know he went later than these guys, but I like the player and I like the spot. 6 is Danny Stutsman for me. I'm just kind of a little bullish on him, trying to figure it out. Probably because he was really good for me in my college league, so I just don't. 6 was Danny Stutsman. 5 was Nick Martin. 4 Jalon Walker. 3 Demetrius Knight. 2 Carson Schwesinger, and 1 Jihaad Campbell.
Nice. I like it. Yeah, we've got a similar list here. 10, or I guess 11 for me. I go back and forth on this one. I ended up putting Chris Paul Jr. there, just again, more of the draft capital more than anything, but he was up there for like, I think 5th for me, like pre-draft. So there's a chance I'm just too low on Chris Paul just because the draft capital got scared off a little bit, but love the landing spot. Then it's like 10, I have Teddye Buchanan. I love the spot there on the Ravens. Barrett Carter is number 9 for me with the Bengals. Again, you're probably right. I think Barrett Carter probably is 11. And then I got Stutsman. After that, Jack Kiser for Jacksonville, I got at 7. Cody Simon is number 6 for me. Nicholas Martin is 5. Demetrius Knight is 4. Jalon Walker is actually 3. So they're a little bit different there. We had those two, I guess, swapped. And then Carson Schwesinger 2 and Jihaad Campbell 1. So pretty similar. But I think near the end, like the 5th round, just basically where you're taking those dart throws is where it's going to get changed the most. And honestly, I'm switching it up too. Like I had one draft where Cody Simon and Jack Kiser were both available. One draft I went Cody Simon, the other one I went Jack Kiser, just to switch it up. So they're dart throws anyways. We don't need to get too cute with the rankings or locked into the rankings, I guess. But
I totally agree. And I think I think in drafts too, like your Jihaad Campbell, Schwesinger, Knight, and Walker, even maybe you're going to see go. However, many people fill on Walker, but like Jihaad Campbell, Schwesinger, Knight are going to be the earlier names, right? Then I think Nick Martin could kind of separate from the group maybe in some drafts, right. But like there's like a tier there with like Martin, Stutsman, Simon, Kiser, Paul. So like if you're waiting on those guys, I think in most drafts, when one goes, you're going to have to kind of be ready for the others to start following suit. I'm in a couple, and that's how it's went. And we're doing a mock draft over at Football Guys in a group chat, and that's kind of how it's going. And I kind of felt like that might happen when you're looking at these guys. Once Martin goes, there might be a guy who's super high on him. Who knows how early he goes. But once one of those other names go, everybody's going to be kind of getting ready to pull the trigger on Simon or Paul or Kiser, or like you said, whichever one. And yeah, I'm with you. Like I might take Stutsman once, and I might take Cody Simon, and it might be Kiser. It's just like, probably going to spread the investment around the portfolio, as Johnny the Greek would
say. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think like when I was looking at these guys for like tiers and stuff, like I had Jihaad Campbell and Carson Schwesinger pretty close, both of those guys in like the second round-ish for me. Jalon Walker, Demetrius Knight in the kind of third round. Nicholas Martin was kind of on that fringe third, fourth round. And then like Cody Simon, Jack Kiser, Teddye Buchanan, Chris Ball, Danny Stutsman, whoever you want to throw in there was kind of like the 5th to 6th round picks as well. So I agree. I like the call on some of the tier breaks as well. I think that's important to kind of recognize too when drafting. But that's it. That's a wrap on our rookie linebacker rankings. Thank you to anyone tuning in. We appreciate you. And if you're on the YouTube, please don't forget to like and subscribe. That would mean a lot to me. Also, a huge thank you to the man, Kyle Bellefeuil, for always coming on here and crushing it and being available to talk rookie linebackers with me, KB. I can't thank you enough for always doing this. It's always so great to chat with you and get your insights. So I greatly appreciate it, man.
Oh, no, thanks. Thanks for the kind words, John. And I appreciate you inviting me back, dude. I always have a great time catching up and talking ball and talking rookies. And yeah, man, just awesome time as always.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, always enjoy it. And before you go too, you mentioned some of the stuff you're going on at football, guys. Let everybody know what exactly that is and where they could find your work as well.
Oh, over at footballguys.com. I did a little round one recap, IDP recap, and then me and Joey the Tooth put together a top 40 IDP rookie tiered board that just came out like yesterday, I think. So it just tiered the players of all the positions, and then next week we're gonna do those top 40 players with a little bit of player summary, so it'll kind of link back to each other. So we wanted to get something out early because drafts kick off right away. So just kind of get our thoughts, and then the group of us over there, we did a pre-draft IDP only rookie mock, and we're working through a post-draft one right now. So I'm excited about that too. It's just fun to kind of see what everybody's thinking and get their thoughts and the blurbs to why they took the players, and kind of see how the board comes together with a bunch of really smart guys in the draft room. So yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, love that, man. Yeah, it's great. It's a great time to kind of dive into to all this kind of work too, and to check out Kyle's work, because there's not like a clear kind of ADP right now. We're literally a week out of the draft, right? So people are all still figuring it out. So dive in, jump into as much research as you can, and kind of learn about this rookie class and how to value them. But that definitely good work to check out there for Kyle and from Joey. For me on PFF.com right now, I got IDP rookie rankings. We got the offense plus IDP rookie draft walkthrough article, also with a YouTube exclusive video version of that. Both of them are free. That my 1QB and Superflex rankings are also out today on Thursday, and I'll have my veteran IDP winners and losers post draft Friday as well. So next week, keep an eye out for a Superflex plus IDP rookie draft walkthrough video, rookie edge rankings with Joey the Tooth, and so much more. So thank you all again for tuning in, and until next time, peace out.